We saw very heavy storms with rainfall up to an inch per hour and gusts of 44 miles per hour. Unfortunately, this is all too common as we've seen throughout the fall, especially on the Mediterranean side of Spain. I'm thinking back to flooding in October in Valencia and the Balearic Islands as well. Of course, the weather here suspended outdoor activities and disrupted regional rail services, and localized flooding continued until November 6th. Travelers were advised to avoid flood-prone areas and also to delay non-essential travel to affected areas.
Good. Well, not for southern Spain. Thank you, Nolan. Over to India.
Hi everyone, my name is Caroline. I'm also an intelligence analyst with SafeAbroad. So our second event occurred on November 10th in New Delhi, India. We saw a car blast. A suicide bomber carried out a car blast near the Red Fort UNESCO World Heritage Site in New Delhi, India. It killed 10, injured 32 others, and according to the latest information that's been released, it's suspected that it was a terrorist attack conducted by citizens in Indian-controlled Kashmir region by these anti-national forces. While 6 suspects were arrested, there is no further information on the nature of the attack available at this time. Safe Abroad travelers were advised to obviously avoid the scene of the explosion and the surrounding areas as security operations were underway.
All right, thank you, Caroline. Over to Mexico City.
And then on November 15th, we saw the GenZ protests that we've been seeing occurring around the world since the Nepal's government was overthrown, extended to Mexico City, Mexico. We saw significant clashes between protesters and police during the protest march. The protest march was originally intended to demonstrate against government corruption and cartel violence. However, after a small group of protesters started attacking police, the protest quickly devolved into violence. There is a video of protesters tearing down walls erected by police and clash with law enforcement, especially at the presidential palace and trying to enter the presidential palace. Ultimately, the government has reported that 100 police and 20 civilians were injured and at least 20 people were arrested. Travelers at the time were advised to carry identification on them at all times, allow extra time for any journeys, especially obviously near the presidential palace, and then adhere to all security directives and remain vigilant and aware of their surroundings.
All right. Staying to this side of the hemisphere and down south to Peru.
On November 20th in Peru, we saw that there was an extension of the state of emergency, specifically in the Callao region and Lima until December 21st. There's been also declared states of emergency in the Trujillo and Vero provinces, which are expected to last until January 21st, 2026. The states of emergency come from a number of factors in these different regions, but specifically the most notable issues of concern are the criminal violence, civil unrest, and especially the anti-government protests, which have had issues of violence and clashes with police. So travelers at the time and in the future, so long as these states of emergency are ongoing, are advised to carry identification at all times, allow extra time for journeys, avoid any areas with known conflict, and if possible, if they were planning to travel to one of these areas, to defer any travel plans, as well as to adhere to any security directives and be aware of their surroundings.
Back to Mexico.
Hello. Yes, like the earlier stated Gen Z protests, another protest took place, but this time it was among truckers and also in solidarity with farmers over government corruption and the inaction to deal with the cartel violence that not only threatens the truckers themselves, but also the farmers as well, as unfortunately we see cartels move into extortion. But in this particular case on November 24th, truckers blocked highways outside of major towns and also ports of entry as well, significantly disrupting travel. And unfortunately, this is like the Spain example, not the first time we've seen this. This has happened before as well, but every time it causes mass disruption. So travelers were advised to seek alternative methods of transportation and advised to keep up to date with the local media to see the effects of this strike.
Thank you. Over to Indonesia.
On November 26th, Indonesia, as well as other areas of Southeast Asia, felt the impact of Cyclone Senyar. Specifically, Indonesia's provinces Aceh, West Sumatra, and North Sumatra experienced significant flash flooding, destruction of infrastructure, homes, loss of life, and additional issues. So on November 30th, these three provinces all declared provincial states of emergencies, which is primarily intended to boost humanitarian resource efforts and to better mobilize their provincial level resources to be able to help with these relief efforts. However, Indonesia as a country has not yet declared a national state of emergency, despite some pressure by locals to do so. So, as I said, the cyclone made landfall on November 26th, extensive flash flooding and infrastructure damage. As of yesterday, at least 708 casualties in Indonesia have been identified. At least 2,600 people were injured, and thousands of people have been displaced. The crisis is still ongoing, and these numbers are likely to continue to be revised and to go upward as they find more information. But the approximate date of the end of those states of emergencies is December 11th at the moment. So, SafeAbroad travelers were and are advised to defer non-essential travel to any of the affected areas, avoid low-lying areas, monitor local media for weather updates, and then follow all emergency directives.
Thank you. So we've kind of covered up to got us to November or through November to December now. And so let's look at the month ahead, starting back in Spain.
Yeah, so in Madrid, Spain, we'll be looking at healthcare workers, specific, in particular, ambulance workers will be striking on December 4th, 5th, 9th, and 10th. And this will disrupt what's already been described as being precarious emergency health services and capabilities in Madrid, Spain. So a number of different unions have organized a strike following a breakdown in collective bargaining over a number of issues, including wages, insufficient staff, night shift pay, reduced working hours. So drivers, paramedics, and support staff are all expected to participate in the strike. And given that a number of their complaints are about insufficient staff and already concerns with the number of hours they're working, this could lead to significant disruption should travelers need emergency services at these times. So travelers are advised to avoid any protests that may occur during the strike, prepare alternate means of medical assistance if they need regular medical assistance during the time, and seek alternate methods of getting to a hospital in the event of they have an emergency, and of course plan in the event that they do encounter an emergency, how will they get to the hospital.
Thank you for that. And just nearby to Portugal.
Hello. Yes, on December 11th, Portugal will experience a nationwide general strike, which will heavily affect transportation services, including rail, metro, and airlines. All major airports are expected to be heavily affected. The UGT and CGTP trade unions, two of the largest in the country, are striking together, which is pretty rare in itself. Um, Airlines will see most flights grounded this day with minimal services running. This will impact both domestic and international flights and will have expected ripple effects, including increased demand for flights before and after, and delays that follow this strike as well. Reduced services are also expected for both the Lisbon and Porto metros, as well as rail services. Travelers should note that education, medical, and government services are also likely to be impacted during this period. So we advise travelers to go ahead and reconfirm their flights and other transportation bookings and to check repeatedly for further information.
That's great info, especially if you've got students flying home in Portugal at this time. It's very critical that they're aware of what's happening to find alternative solutions. And over to Italy, where we have a very similar scenario.
That's right, Zach. On December 17th, Italian aviation will see further strikes or a strike, which will cause significant disruptions. Despite it only being a 4-hour strike, The overlap of the industries involved are likely or expected to cause significant disruptions. That being four airlines, air traffic controllers, and ground handlers all striking simultaneously from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the 17th. The involved airlines are below Vueling ITA Airways, Italy's main airline, Air France, and KLM. Once again, both domestic and international flights are expected to be impacted, and further complications are once again likely as ripple effects are felt following the strike here. Major airports are most likely to be affected here. We're talking Rome, Milan, Venice, and others. So travelers are again advised to reconfirm their flights and expect possible delays.
So going to a city where I lived for many years in Edinburgh.
Awesome. Yeah, so as we move into the holiday period here, we're going to see some holiday disruptions, including the Hogmanay Festival, which is considered one of the largest New Year's Eve celebrations in the world, despite the fact that it takes course over multiple days. On the 29th, there's a large torchlight procession. On the 30th, concerts. On the 31st, New Year's Eve, there's a concert in the gardens and a giant street party. And on the 1st, many people celebrate by taking a cultural heritage walk and taking a dip in the North Sea. This is a very popular event. It's expected to attract around 100,000 people to the city. It used to attract even more, but they had to start limiting tickets. This is considered by many to be Scotland's largest holiday. So you'll expect to see many of the associated large event disruptions, including traffic from road closures, large crowd safety issues, and associated issues. Notably, late night buses and trams will be available for those who choose to participate. And Safe Abroad travelers are advised to build in extra time for travel if they're looking to travel through Edinburgh or immediately around it. And if they are participating, whenever you're in a large crowd, maintain awareness.
Thank you. I've participated in this event a few times, and just want a little note here about crowd crush. It's very real in this scenario with this many people in the street. So just being aware of surroundings is incredibly important. It's fun. Got live music in various venues, a lot of fun things to see and do, but a lot of people enjoy it. So down to Spain.
Yes, sticking with the holiday theme here. Three Kings Day is largely celebrated in Latin cultures, and it takes place on January 6th. But the day following, at night usually, there is the Cabalgata de los Reyes parades, which celebrates Three Kings Days. These are celebrated all across Spain. Just about every town has their own. Of course, the largest celebrations take place in the largest towns, like Madrid, seen below, where the largest events can draw over 200,000 people to it. Once again, you're expecting to see travel disruptions throughout downtown areas, despite the fact that the event itself only takes a few hours. With this many people involved, closures and disruptions take place over a longer period. So travelers are advised, once again, to build in extra time whenever they're traveling in downtown or around the surrounding area around this period, January 5th and 6th, and also to take those crowd safety precautions and maintain awareness in large crowds.
Thank you. All right, so that kind of wraps it up for today. Do we have any? I know that we have some other things, and we've got a few more minutes, so I want to open it up to any questions. Welcome to unmute yourself. This kind of give us idea of what your concerns about. If there's anything you have questions about what's happening in the world, this is your time. We're here to discuss whatever you'd like to. So let's open it up. Others. Anyone have any questions? All right. So it's kind of the overview of on this slide overview of how SafeAbroad can support your organization or institution in a variety of ways. And at any point, if you wanted to speak with me, you're welcome to contact us via email, or you can you can then that way get a hold of me. We do have a calendar on our website where you can actually book a time with me, and you're booking a time to meet with me to discuss anything that is on your mind about when it comes to safety, risk management, risk assessment on campus. But we will be here for a few more minutes if you have any questions. Otherwise, thanks so much, and look forward to seeing you in the new year, if not before. Okay, thank you all.